And the message that sends to the British public is that if you have a favourable cause, then you can get away with breaking the law however you want. But if it's a cause that is not favoured, and if you have people who, for example, feel as if they can't be heard on matters of immigration through the democratic process, that is going to build up resentment. Yeah. And when you hear people talking like this superintendent talking about community leaders, well, these are not people who are elected, nor are they people who can be removed by election because they're not elected in the first place. And so these are people who are self-appointed as community leaders who perhaps have no legitimacy democratically with the communities that they purport to represent. And so really the only people that the police strategically should be speaking to as a community leader is the MP, the elected community leader of that constituency.
I take issue with that word community, and I think there's been very good writing about this recently, that we call these groups communities because it sounds soft and cuddly, but when we get to the other side of the coin, to the white people that are protesting, they are far-right protesters, they're not a community.
So let's talk about the two-tier policing system / justice system that seems to be so evident in the United Kingdom and seems to favour and advantage those that are of DEI. And we're going to use the two most recent cases to formulate our point. So that is Mohammed Ammars, that was involved in the Manchester airport brawl with police officers where he was beating all the police up, took two to the floor, and whilst he was doing so, broke one of the female officers' nose. And I'm going to compare and contrast that with the Englishmen that were rioting around the United Kingdom, predominantly in the north of England. Just a quick backstory to the whole case. A 19-year-old man named Mohammed Fahir Ammars, alongside his brother, got into an altercation with police on the 23rd of July 2024. If you haven't seen the full video, then I'll link it in the description. So he got into an altercation with police at Manchester Airport, him alongside his brother, who was called Ahmad Ammars, only to find a few days after the incident, footage is circulating on social media. It's everywhere. It's on the newspapers, it's on social media, Instagram, Google, Mail, online articles, everywhere. And it's basically showing a police officer kick, stamping, and then kneeling on Mohammed Ammars' back. Now, this sent social media into a frenzy. Everyone was like, these police officers need to be investigated for gross misconduct. They need to be arrested, they need to be charged, and they need to be thrown in jail. You know, no one was even looking at what happened beforehand. They didn't want to hear any kind of backstory as to what happened. They just saw that, and that's all that was circulating. There was no background video or no footage beforehand that led up to that happening. And I was sitting down saying, yeah, police aren't just going to behave like that if there's no reason. Now, I'm not condoning what the police officer did, but I said, you know what, let me sit back and wait for everything to come out. Let me wait for all the pieces of the case to be put together so that I have a clear picture of everything that happened. Now, just a few days go by, another footage circulates on social media, and this time it shows the backstory as to what happened with Mohammed Fahir Ammars and his brother that led up to the police officer kick, stamping, and kneeling on Mohammed Fahir Ammars' back after he was tased. So basically, just to cut a long story short and tell you the events of what happened, as the camera is watching the situation, I believe that the police officers are trying to arrest Mohammed Fahir Ammars. So they're trying to arrest him, some words are being exchanged, things are heating up, and then, you know, punches just start flying. And we just see Mohammed Ammars just punching, just going, and then his brother jumps in as well. And before he gets onto the guy, he knocks the two female officers down, breaks one of the officers' nose, and then he goes to the man and he just carries on unloading on the man, the male officer, whereby the male police officer was in a physical altercation with Mohammed Ammars' brother, Ahmad Ammars. So whilst the male officer was fighting with Ahmad Ammars, then Mohammed Ammars comes in, starts throwing punches, you know, no respect for law enforcement, gets tased. Then after he gets tased, he goes down to the ground, and then this is when the police officer kick, stamps, and kneels on his back. Now, in no way, shape, or form am I condoning what the police officer did, but you must take the background story into effect. You have to remember, if this was Saudi Arabia, you can't punch police officers like that without there being a harsh and even a Sharia-style punishment for your actions. In Dubai, Qatar, Kuwait, you cannot punch police officers without there being a Sharia type punishment for the person accused. So in regards to that situation, Mohammed Ahmad and Ahmad Ahmad, his brother, were against one male police officer and two female police officers. So Mohammed and Ahmad had power over that situation. Now, if we turn the location to the United States, and that was the case, technically, the police officer could take his weapon out and start firing, and he would be justified for weapons discharge because he could say that he was in fear of his life. And I don't think many people would argue, and they would actually say, why would you be fighting and punching police officers? In many countries around the world, that is not allowed. Even in Africa, you go to Angola, you go to Nigeria, they take you out. You don't go and fight police officers there. Middle East, same thing. North Africa, same thing. The United States, same thing. The only place I'd probably argue that's probably a little bit more woke than the United Kingdom is Canada. So in Canada, you know, you just never know, because Canada is super woke. So yeah, probably that is the next place that is more woke than the United Kingdom. But other places around the world, you couldn't behave in such a way. And this shows that there is a lack of respect for the public service police officers. You know, a complete lack of respect. The fact that he can be emboldened to go and start throwing punches, then it shows that there's no respect for the law. And on top of that, it shows that if he gets arrested, which he eventually got arrested, he was probably under the impression that nothing will probably happen to him because he understands the weakness in the UK's judicial system. So he understands that, and that's why his hands were flying as fast as they were, and he was knocking every law enforcement officer out, which he would never do in Saudi Arabia. You never even see these videos circulate. You never see these videos circulate in Dubai. Maybe America are cool. You may see a few videos, but the police officers in America dust up very quick. You know, they don't take nonsense, you know. So many places around the world, same in Africa as well, they don't tolerate none of this. And he understood that the law is weak, so he capitalized on that. And after he capitalizes on it, and both videos surfaces online, so we've clearly seen the backstory and we've clearly seen what's happened after, he now gets to play the victim. So he now gets to stand with a lawyer and say, how I was treated was so bad. It's affected my mental health. It's affected all areas of my life. I deserve sympathy. And from how things are looking and from what I've read, he's going to sue to ensure that he's compensated due to the incident that happened in Manchester Airport. So basically, he gets to play the innocent victim. Look, I was victimized by police officers. Even though we've seen the whole story, he gets to play the victimized role whilst putting on a sad face and saying, look at what happened to me. Look, the bottom line, you do not fire officers. You know, even if they arrested you wrongly, what happens is you listen to law enforcement and then you go to the station. Whilst you're in the station, you seek advice as to what you should proceed with next. You know, you never take the law into your own hands, especially against law enforcement. Like, what are you thinking? You know, even if it's a wrong arrest, go to the station, comply, and then follow up with things diplomatically afterwards. You never just start fighting police, because I know you wouldn't fight police in other countries. So now I'm going to read you an update in regards to the case regarding Mohammed Ahmad and his brother and police officers at Manchester Airport. And then right after that, I'm going to contrast it with the English boys, men that were rioting in the United Kingdom, and how quick arrests and sentences have been administered for those guys. But let's touch up on this first, and then I'm going to speak about that right after. Okay, so very quick part of the article, and I'm going to pick up where I believe the problem is and where people are saying it's two-tier. So yeah, police have sent a file of evidence to the Crown Prosecution Service following an incident at Manchester Airport in which 3 officers were injured and a man kicked by a police officer. Mohammed Fahir Ahmad was struck by a firearms officer after he and his brother Ahmad Ahmad were arrested following a violent clash with police on the 23rd of July. This is where I pick problem with now. 4 men held in connection with the incident, including Mr. Fahir Ahmad, remain on bail. So even though we've seen him throw punches at police officers when they were trying to arrest him and he was resisting arrest and being aggressive, he's still out on bail. Guys, This article came out just 5 days ago. So this article came out on the 15th of August 2024. This is the most up-to-date that they have in regards to the case. And he's walking around like a free man on bail. And he's basically, from how things are looking, he's already got his claim processing against the police officers, even though there's footage of him punching police officers, breaking a female officer's nose. He still gets to enjoy the luxury of playing victim because he is a DEI individual. Let's just be super honest. You know, if we was in Liverpool and then there was an Englishman, 19, that was getting arrested, he resisted arrest and started punching police officers, how do you think that would go? Do you think that he'd be walking out on bail? Hell no, he will never be out on bail. He would have been charged and he would probably be serving his time right now. So there seems to be a two-tier, you know, policing system and prosecution system as it, you know, relates to DEI individuals, which is a huge shame. So anyway, Manchester Police said it had submitted a comprehensive file of evidence as part of an investigation into a series of alleged criminal offences which left the officers injured. Meanwhile, 2 police officers remain under criminal investigation in connection with the incident. We have to move on to the guys that were rioting in the United Kingdom. We need to touch up on this because I want to just say something. I go to the gym and I train. And as I'm in the gym, there's basically like a oblong type TV that shows news updates. And what I've been seeing for these past couple of days have been faces of people who were rioting only a week and a half ago. So in a week and a half, somehow the criminal justice system in the United Kingdom have found the individuals who were rioting, charged them and thrown them in jail, and even released their mugshots, which I see in the gym, many. You know, there's 6 on one page, it flips over another 6, it flips to the next one, another 6, the next section, another 6. So you've made mass arrests for men who were rioting, but there seems to be no mass arrests of incidents that really affect the day-to-day life of people living in the United Kingdom, such as knife crime. You know, we never see no tough language as it pertains to knife crime, phones being stolen on the street, you know, illegal immigrations, things that actually, you know, impact the life of people living in the United Kingdom. And one of the reasons, most of the reasons why people are rioting, we never hear this kind of robust language from leadership. Well, now it's Keir Starmer and the Conservative Party, to be fair. We never hear this kind of robust language. But when it comes to men that were rioting in the United Kingdom, only for like over a week, then all of a sudden, law enforcement are going into people's houses, dragging them out, throwing them in the back of the van, charging them, throwing them in jail, giving them 2 years, 6 years, 10 years. Even 15, 16-year-olds are getting charged. And I'm just like, what's really going on here? Like, I advocate for one criminal justice system that should be in operation. I don't want a two-tier justice system. I want one criminal justice system and one policing that applies to everyone, regardless of ethnicity, race, where you're from, what your religious beliefs are, what sex you are, male, female, whatever you want to identify as. I advocate for one type of criminal justice system and one policing. But in this case, it seems to be so evident in our faces that when one guy is punching, beating up officers, then he's just out on bail. You know, he gets to form a case, you know, against the police, and he's seen as the victim. Of course, the wokies will always see him as the victim because the wokies are not really thinking logically. You know, the progressives, the so-called progressives, you know, extreme progressives are not thinking logically. So, of course, they're going to look at him as the victim in this case. And then when you have another group of guys who are rioting as a result of failed policies domestically, then all of a sudden, you know, the law is in full effect and they're prosecuted so rapidly. I have never known the UK judicial system to work so quick in the UK. I've never seen it. Now, I'm not condoning bad behavior, and of course, if you vandalize, destroy communities, there's consequences. But I'm saying that the majority of people in the UK want to live in a one-tier system that applies to everybody. You can't have one guy that was fighting, punching, beating up officers. He gets to be released on bail. He gets to have his claims processed against Manchester police, and then others that, yes, they were destroying their community, and you just grab them quick and you just throw them in jail, call them they're far right thugs, they're disgusting, we need to get rid of them, they're all far right. It's like, no, there seems to be, you know, favoritism in regards to people that are of DEI, in this case Mohammed Ahmad's. You know, this is not fair. This is absolutely not fair. You know, one tier for everybody is what I advocate for, and in this case it's clear as day to see that, yes, both are in the wrong, but they're being treated differently. One is being prosecuted to the highest extent of the law, quickly, fast, and most rapidly. Then the other is on bail and gets to be seen as the victim and gets to have his views heard, gets to have a lawyer. So to conclude very quickly, I'm going to be following up on this case in regards to the Manchester incident to see how it plays out. You know, it needs to play out in the way that everyone should expect the right punishment for the right culprit. In this case, Mohammed Ahmad's. You know, I'm sorry, but you just don't go around attacking law enforcement. And if you do not punish this, then what you are doing essentially is you are overtly co-signing this behavior, and therefore it will definitely repeat itself in the future. On top of that, there will be civil unrest, there will be social instability, there will be tensions, you know, between different peoples in different communities. There'll be people who believe they're victimized, there'll be others who feel emboldened to behave however, and even to take it over the top if they're stopped by police next time, because they have seen Mohammed Ahmad's wasn't charged and he could play victim. So you are now giving the go-ahead to others that are of DEI to say, hey, we can do the same thing. And yeah, you are not leading the UK in a right direction if this is the case. And you know, the unrest will be so great that you can absolutely be guaranteed to see another part 2 of the riots, you know, in the future. And this time it will be, of course, worse than it was the first time round. So, you know, good leadership, you know, one tier policing, criminal justice system for everyone, regardless of who you are. You know, you will all be treated the same. No favoritism, no wokies getting a pass because of their political ideologies. No demonizing people whose political ideas belong on the right. Treat everyone the same and prosecute in the exact same manner, regardless of who you are. But anyway, guys, comment down below. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you at the next video. Peace.